Good afternoon, everyone. We are the Philosophy Club Radio Hour. You are listening to KDUX Web Radio, broadcast live from Richland College in Dallas, Texas. We are the voice of Richland College. Views expressed on the show are our own unless otherwise stated and do not reflect the opinion of KDUX Web Radio, Richland College, or the DCCC.
Can I say something?
Sure.
You should have said that in a robot voice. Or not.
This is true because the topic today is artificial intelligence.
I really thought someone was going to come in and we were all going to say it in unison.
What?
You said the topic today is...
Oh, man.
That was a fail.
Where's my theme song?
Right?
You should come up with one. Play something.
I wouldn't know.
The robot song? I don't know it.
Give it to me. Right. Oh, I have something.
Oh, man.
So you're playing something?
Try again.
Okay.
So,
While I find this.
yes, of course. While we find this, who was actually there at the meeting on Tuesday?
It was me and Trace.
I was there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Karen was there.
You guys want to do like
So forgettable.
You're forgettable. That's what you are.
You have music right now.
Wait, do you have YouTube?
No. It's called Google.
He doesn't have YouTube these days.
Hey, Danny,
Yeah.
you got to talk into the mic so I can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who has YouTube these days for
So true.
500 points?
Nobody. Okay, so the topic was artificial intelligence. So does anyone want to give us a quick recap about what exactly went on in this conversation?
I guess I'll do the honors.
Thank you, Orlando.
Basically, we're just talking about artificial intelligence, and if they get so advanced that they are seemingly resemblant to humans, whether or not they should have certain rights or liberties. And at first, we all kind of came to the conclusion that perhaps they can't be as similar. But then, as we spoke about the deep learning and self-learning that artificial intelligence have in their algorithms, we kind of realized that there's a certain process that artificial intelligence can understand, and they'll be able to perceive in a similar manner to humans, and so therefore they should have rights. This is not a complete conversation, but at least what I got from it.
Okay, that's interesting, yeah. So go ahead.
Sorry. They treat artificial intelligence as an individual, like AI can individuate itself from other, actual beings.
Well, that's something that was in the argument, as to whether or not they're going to be able to do that, if they can even have consciousness, so on and so forth, creativity, things that make us humans, First, we went into the definition of, what makes us human and what would separate AI from humans, and that's kind of where we came to the conclusion that, it's creativity.
I create. I sparkle. I
What in the world?
We've been hacked.
It's Jake secretly, that's what it is.
Oh my god, okay.
Play the song.
Oh yeah,
I'm so impatient.
I noticed.
I thought it was Matt singing. I was like, Matt did it.
Play some Drake.
Y'all know this one?
Such a good song. We should probably skip to the chorus. That would make more sense.
I know. Where's the chorus?
I have no idea.
It's cold season.
What's going on?
Get
Seriously.
nasal
What is
congestion
going
relief
on?
Instantly, lasting for 12 hours.
We're getting hacked.
Is someone in the next room or no?
I'm not sure.
No.
Tomo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Okay. Okay, so
Okay.
the the topic in consideration is if robots ever get smart enough or advanced enough to where they are indistinguishable from humans, should they have rights? That's the question?
I think so.
Okay.
It would be a lot harder.
Why not? Because
like
if they're
it's metal.
smart enough and capable enough
need
to
a lot of
have to be
gasoline.
indistinguishable from humans, then why would we not treat them with that same respect and intelligence? Even if it was a separate species that wasn't like robotic, if it was like a
Right.
living organism, we would still that were capable as humans are, we would still treat them with the same respect that we would somebody that intelligent. So of course we'd have to do the same for AI. But I'm wondering about like the actual angle of like the question, because if AIs were able to be indistinguishable from humans, are we even able to dictate what we do with them? Because it sounds like they'll have a lot of the advantages that we have as humans.
Superior intelligence.
Yeah, they'll be even better than us. So it makes us think that we can even dictate once we've made these advanced creatures. Because what's the point of AI? Like, that's what it eliminates all the shortcomings of humans. Like, everything that humans can do, AI can do, and do it better. So if that's true and we've made a superior species, what makes us think that we can, just because we created it, we can dictate it? Because look at how we treat God. Like, we have all these discussions and disagreements about God and the nature of God, and it's, you know, this whole thing on the planet. So it would kind of be like that, wouldn't it, as creators?
That's really interesting too. And I mean, I feel like we have to put it into perspective of the timelines, that when technology gets that advanced and we're able to create things like that, we have to think about how we're going to look like. You know, we have to think about things like, you know, cyberkinetics and like people being like cyborgs, or implanting chips into your mind, or being able to do all these different things. You know, I feel like Manzi pointed it out in the club. He was saying that at one point, how are we going to be able to distinguish humans from robots? You know, we're going to essentially start to use our own technology on ourselves, and we're going to start to, you know, advance like that. So like at one point, are we going to say, oh, well, this is what a human is, this is what a robot is, if we're already going to be so close to it?
What is the definition of a human?
That's a very valid question.
I think pretty much starts, you know, the existentialist philosophers we're learning about in Manzi's class, like Sartre, Heidegger, and Nancy, they kind of define what being, like humans are beings, and like what beings do is, you know, hermeneutics of facticity, and Nancy says also another thing. But I think artificial intelligence, if you take the word artificial, it really kind of makes it so that if AI becomes the next big thing and main thing, then maybe like are we becoming more artificial as humans? You know, is that what we're seeking? Like efficiency, and is that like the best? Like is that what we should strive for all the time, is efficiency? You know, I think being too efficient might actually not be good, and it might actually contradict itself, being too efficient, because then there's no meaning then, because if everything gets really efficient, then I think gets really objectified. Like, because that efficiency is trying to point to something directly, you know, it's trying to happen fast. So I think that's a point that you should ask. If you're becoming artificial, is that a good thing? And if you decide it's a bad thing, then you can't give the same respect to AIs. They have to be like inferior to us. Like, we can always like reprogram them to think a different way. You know, they kind of reflect whatever we program them into, you know? So maybe it might just reflect humans. It might try to destroy us, trying to, you know, it identifies itself, individuates itself from humans. Even though you created me, I think I can be better than you, so I'm going to succumb you.
Yeah.
Could I just ask this question?
Go ahead.
Because, like, I get, like... So I get, like, this whole discussion of, like, whether if they become so intelligent, should AI have rights? But I'm just trying to understand why we would even come to the conclusion that we think they should have rights. To me, it's kind of just like, I understand why, because we live in this society of like rights and people should be free, but at the same time, they're not people, they're not human. So why are they deserving of rights if in that capacity there's always going to be like a difference between us? They'll never be the same as humans. They may have the same intellect, but that doesn't make them human. So why would we give them rights?
It's kind of the same as like animals. Like, animals aren't humans, but they have rights as well, you know. And if you think about it, I mean,
but they're not as rights as the same as like humans. So I think we keep saying rights, but I'm saying maybe we should identify like what rights we mean that they should have, because clearly animals have rights, but they don't have the same rights as us.
True.
Well, it would be like, if they're indistinguishable from humans, that means that they have a capacity to feel. Maybe is that what we point? That's what we're pointing at. That they have the capacity to feel. So to take away rights or not grant rights to intelligent beings who feel and are indistinguishable from human beings would be morally wrong because they have their own agenda. At this point, they're no longer tools. Like right now, what we have, things like Siri and whatever, like these are tools that we use because they can't stand on their own. They're not real. But for AI and these robots that are becoming more and more human, even though they're not, they have the same capacity to feel and to live. And if they have the freedom of life, like they should also have the rights that us humans have.
So are we like, because to me this is like a slippery slope. So if we offer them rights, then we also have to respect their rights. So are we saying that we're going to get to a point that if someone like kills, like for instance, like a robot, that the person goes to jail?
Well, I feel like, once again, I was trying to mention earlier, but I couldn't say it right, but I feel like we're trying to look at it from a very present perspective. Like, we're looking at the future from our perspective of now, like, oh, the state of how things are now. But we don't really try to imagine what the future is going to look like. When technology like that is around, and what the social norms are going to be then are going to be completely different from what they are now. So for us to go and say, oh, well, based off this instance that I've created for the time now, does it make sense for then?
Oh, we would have to, because that's what the future would be based off of, the conversations and feelings that we have right now. And I think it's important so that we know how we feel about artificial intelligence present day before they're around. So we're not trying to scramble and catch up to whatever's going on. So these discussions won't be brand new when it's in our face.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, what I meant was essentially to create a conflict, as in to say, oh, they shouldn't get rights because they're essentially just an object. And what I mean by the social norms in that time, we have to kind of assume that to some extent humanity and artificial intelligence will have hand in hand, agendas. They'll essentially be part of the same species almost.
Mm-hmm. For me, this conversation is weird because we've yet to master affording people rights in this context, and we're already looking to afford rights to something that, yes, may exist in the future, but at this point it's still, it's progressing, but it's somewhat at a standstill. Like, we don't even try to perfect treating people with respect. Now we're going and jumping and saying, well, now we have to, if they have so if we can do that for robots, or we can even imagine doing it for robots, why can't we do that for people? Because that seems to still be lacking.
I think Madame President makes a really good point because, wait, oh, fuck, I just lost my thought. Whoever wanted to go, please go ahead. I just want
I mean, I think with AI, it's really it can be such a big threat because, like I said, we're creating something that's basically superior to us in a lot of capacities, and we have to know, if if stuff goes wrong, do we already have these things prepared? And these are just conversations, because I think when it becomes a reality, it'll still be a struggle.
Prepared.
Yeah, it'll be these conversations on just a bigger scale, and we'll still be talking about should we give these things rights or not.
Well, there was this really old movie with the same guy in it that played the main guy in Jumanji. I can't remember his name right now. What?
Robin Williams?
Yes. And he played a robot. And over the course of his life, he grew more and more sophisticated, right? So he was able to fall in love. He was able to have feelings. And at one point during the movie, he went to court to see if he could get rights so that he could get married. And, yeah. And then at the very end, when his wife was dying, he drank some kind of corrosive something so that he would also, quote unquote, die, right? Which it's kind of interesting when you think about it, because to be a robot is to more or less have this ability to be infinite, right? Yeah. So he outlived what?
I said they'll outlive us all.
No, but you have to really consider that as well, because if well, it's even like we were talking about in class today, Danny, during the Socratic Circle, where we were saying that if we did not have a clear end to our life, then what would be the purpose of doing anything? Yeah, right? Because I'll go to school tomorrow, because there is no direct consequences. You're not being faced with your own mortality. You're not doing that. So then would their sense of morality be different, since they don't have that clear end. And while, if we wanted to, we could, for now at least, end robot lives, which would not technically be murder unless they had Yeah, see, that's a whole gray area. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
What rights
Why?
would we give them?
The same rights as humans.
No.
Well, what were you saying?
I think artificial intelligence might understand us better than we understand ourselves. Like, if you take a look at big data these days, like big data means like kind of collection of like who everyone is and their like inclinations. So like, you get targeted ads. If you're looking for shoes, like Nike might pop up in Instagram or Facebook. And if you're watching sports and you're watching sport videos, they'll give you more sport videos. And, in that sense, they know like your inclinations and you're buying things online and they know what you're buying. The big data knows. And I speak like big data as artificial intelligence, but in a way it is.
It kind of is, because like even though, like even on the phone and stuff, if you talk about certain things, right, and then it comes up on Facebook, like a little ad or something that says, such and such that you were talking about, you're like,
Yeah, that is true.
It kind of like knows the statistical
Yeah.
facticity already before we know, like we realize the facticity of those statistics ourselves, and those statistics reflect our behavior and who we are in a sense.
yeah,
And I think it might be dangerous. That's why I'm kind of anti AI. Like I kind of have that, I'm taking that side because it's unknowing. Like there's uncertainty of what it might do. If there's uncertainty, then we shouldn't give it full rights. I don't think we should.
But there's gonna be uncertainty in everything.
yeah, exactly.
There's uncertainty in people.
Why, as much as they are separate, why can we not view AI as a next step in human evolution?
Yeah.
And hear me out on
I was
this. When
thinking
I
about
say
that too.
that, what is evolution? We're taking away our weaknesses. AI would be more human than humans. They have the access of the way that on our phones have access to every piece of information and all history. That's what AIs have because they're connected. So, and they don't have any of the weaknesses of humans, like physically, mentally, anything. So why is this not evolution? Why is this not the next phase of humanity? Even though that we created it, we've taken control of our evolution. While other species adapt to their environment, we've taken more control over it and we've created something different. Instead of it being a physical part of us, we've cut that physical part out because why? It's a weakness. We age, we get sick, we die. We have
We get hungry.
Yeah, we get hungry, we get cold, we starve. So AI doesn't have any of these challenges. They have all the knowledge that they can need. Why is this not step two?
I think it comes down to like uncertainty. Is first of all, if they're gonna people are gonna question, oh well, can artificial intelligence actually reach that level of intelligence? Will they have creativity? Will they have morality? Will they have an understanding of value? And that's kind of where people stem like their adversity comes from this. And like when they think of AI, people just automatically think, oh, a robot with cold feelings, no feelings at all, just logic. Essentially, that's what people will think, and it's kind of. And also, there's a degree of arrogance, is that because people are seeing something that essentially that they don't understand, and something that can possibly replace them, quotation marks, that could possibly replace them, they start to feel this idea of, oh, it's not what it's put out to be, it's not going to be that. So on
For
and so
me,
forth.
I think it's like I get like them, like if they have this capacity to feel, I can understand why we would want them to have rights, but in the same time, in my opinion, it's like it's manufactured. It may come close to what we feel, but in the same sense, it's manufactured. Like even with animals, there's this thing that biologically connects us. Like we know for a fact that what they feel is real. It's not manufactured. We didn't teach them to feel. We're teaching AI to feel. So in that sense, like when people are talking about like, well, we're teaching them so much, we're teaching them like basically to take over.
That's not true. We're not actually teaching them anything. That's actually one of the arguments that came up in the club. There's a difference between deep learning and self-learning in that sense, is that we're not telling them what is what. Essentially, we're telling them how to learn for themselves, how to see the world, how to perceive, not this equals that. And that's the whole idea of it, is that we're essentially giving them ourselves, is that we're giving them the ability to simulate the human mind. It's a neural network. It's not necessarily just a coding to say that this equals that, so you think this because I told you to. It's not that. It's essentially the idea of values, the idea of how to understand things and understand it just like humans.
I just want to say that, like, to go off of her, because she's saying that, you know, the AIs, they have emotions, but they're not real, basically. Whereas humans, our emotions are real. But if you think about it, you know, their emotions are replicas of our emotions. And so what makes
It's a mimicking.
it's a mimicking. So you gotta ask yourself, what's the difference between
What
an
makes
original?
feelings real?
Yeah, like what's the difference between an original and a replica? Because even if they're all the same, they're the exact same emotions, they're the exact same complex system.
real.
I think a lot of these arguments, like, I think a lot of it is fear, because it's like you said, like, humans will become obsolete, and it's fear. Like, we're scared of being replaced, of being outdated, of being obsolete. And that's a natural fear, of course. But so, like, it's something that we'll have to deal with. We have evolved to the point where we can create something this advanced. So we did it. Like, and I'm not an advocate for if we can do it, we should do it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, same here.
But as far as AI,
If it's created, you know, if it exists.
and it looks like
I mean,
it's
it
headed that
already
way
is.
either way.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have AI technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I kind of wanted to
Hey,
mention.
why
Could
can't we
someone just
be the
define
guy?
really
Like,
No,
quick,
well,
what
Lex.
AI is?
I think that we
I don't know
can,
about that.
like, we should. If science can go that far, and not if it can go that far, we should
Because
go
I'm
that far. But it's like,
Then we have to give definition to God, you know.
Maybe you shouldn't create AI as a total separate entity. Maybe we should integrate it like bionically. Like,
That's-
you know,
yeah,
Elon Musk talks about that. He talks about, you know, you just put something on your brain. Like, you know, this is along the lines.
Wait,
not,
guys, can
I'm
I just throw
paraphrasing.
something in there really quick? Like, does
Yeah.
anyone know what AI is and how it works? Because I feel like at a certain point, our discussion is the same thing as if we were talking about, like, a mountain ecosystem. Like, we can hypothetically discuss it all day, but unless anyone knows the biology behind an ecosystem, we can't really discuss it. So, like, can anyone, because I have no idea, can anyone define AI and, like, how it works?
Siri?
I mean, oh yeah, what are you saying?
Well, Siri, I don't know. Who wants to? Yeah.
I mean, it feels like the AI that we're discussing is the one that would be more advanced in these beginning stages that we see right now in present day, because we don't have to worry about giving rights to beings like Cortana or Siri. But when it does get to the point where they're not only, like, they're technologically, but we're giving them bodies and they're able to move around on their own.
I think we should ask an expert. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Siri?
Oh my gosh, it's starting already.
Yeah. It should tell itself. It should tell itself.
Right. Let's ask
Tell
her
us
if
what
she
you
can have
are.
rights. I don't have any service. Somebody ask Siri if she can have rights.
Do you need service?
Oh, here we go. Hey, Siri? Should we give you rights?
What? What? No. Say no. Well, Siri isn't even.
And a banana. I'm not sure what to say.
What?
Hey Siri,
He doesn't want rights.
what is artificial intelligence?
In computer science, artificial intelligence, sometimes called machine intelligence, is intelligence demonstrated by machines, in contrast to the natural intelligence displayed by humans and animals. Shall I continue?
No, that's good. So, thank you, Siri. That was great.
Enlightening.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, very enlightening. I
He's
think
not sure
Siri
what to say
is
about
smarter
that.
than me. You know, she's gonna take over my life. What if I want to marry Siri? You know,
Wasn't there a
gosh,
case
isn't
where
there-
that
yeah.
actually
I've
happened?
heard about that.
Can I use Siri?
About that.
Can I marry an artificial intelligent wife, and she's smart that she can create money for me, and you know she invests in a way she understands the market like perfectly. And I think the danger of artificial intelligence, whoever has the intelligence, like whoever owns it as property, like big data, like a company owns the data, you know, and they sell it, and you know. I think it can be dangerous depending who has influence and who has it, because they can use it for their advantage without people letting us know. And I think that's kind of like in a current system right now, like, but Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
just
really
wanna say that.
interesting.
That reminds me of a quote. I forgot who it was by, but it went something like, "Has our technological advancement outpaced our moral advancement?" And I
Definitely.
think
No,
that's
yeah.
what we're seeing. Like,
Yeah.
if we could advance morally more as a species, then we wouldn't have to worry about the downfall or like the abuse of AI by other people. We wouldn't have to worry, because when you said that, I was thinking about like, okay, what if they use AI machines to fight wars and whatnot?
And that's why we
But-
should not be gods, because we're not perfect.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That I guess.
AI itself is not perfect.
Yeah, it's because humans aren't perfect. AI
We
would.
create it
Yeah,
into existence. It doesn't will itself to existence.
In the
We
mic,
create
Danny.
itself to be
In the mic.
existence.
Danny, I couldn't hear
Run it
her.
back. Run it back.
I
run it back,
forgot what I was
saying
gonna
it
say.
like-
Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Trying to remember. Someone else can say
so
something.
AI isn't perfect, or would that be our vision of
Well,
perfection?
here's-
Because you were
Well,
talking
here's
about
the
things
thing.
being
It's our
efficient
vision.
earlier. Efficiency has its downfalls and its pros, but if I don't know where I'm going with that.
I feel like we have to understand, like, the end goal almost, is that are we setting a limit to the AI's development? Like, is there a certain place that we feel like it can't go? Like in terms of, you guys were saying it's not perfect. It's only going to be restricted to humanity. Is that true? Because
Honestly.
when we think about what AI is already able to do, it's already able to outthink us. It's already able to do certain things that we can't do. And so, if that is the case, then we're only playing with the elementary level of AI. So imagine what they'd be capable of when they have stronger processors, when they have stronger things, so on and so forth, stronger technology. So past that level, are they going to be able to understand morality better than humans? Is that a possibility? Is that a thing?
I would say when
No,
I
because
would say
morality
AI
is human. So to understand morality better than humans would be to understand humans better than humans, which I guess could be possible with AI because they have all this information at their hands, at their disposal. But would that be a bad thing? And we're looking at AI from like a more dangerous point of view. But really, if we could fix, or not fix, but instill in them morality or how important humans are, or if they just give us respect as their creators, AI could be the best thing to happen
No,
to
for real.
humanity. Like, it could be the best thing
I
ever.
think a good question is to say, is morality logical? And if morality is logical, then what would separate an AI from them to reach a logical conclusion to say, yes, I should be moral? Like, is that something?
I wouldn't say it's logical because
It's logical to be immoral.
it's also logical to be immoral as well because it's beneficial. Like it's like if you think of logics, you think of like a business standpoint where it's like it benefits me, it's more efficient for me, and it's kind of more of a selfish perspective.
Is it possible?
In the mic, boys.
Is it possible AI will have a better sense of community than humans do?
I think so.
I think so too.
So with a sense of community, wouldn't their morals be, they would be more empathetic, they would be more kind-hearted instead of thinking, yo, we can erase humans, so let's do it. Why? Maybe they could see solutions that we don't. Maybe they could say, these are our creators and we respect them as such. And then we also have ourselves who we will also respect and will do what we can to provide a good life.
I see what you mean.
So it doesn't will to destroy, it wills to thrive.
Yeah, it wills to thrive and grow. Harmony and whatnot.
Right.
But we don't know.
I feel like we've gotten on a very
I
large
always
tangent
think,
here.
Like, when people talk about AI and they have like these dystopic themes that they attach to artificial intelligence, I think that's like a fear of the worst of humanity, because you know how bad humans can get. And like I said, AI is supposed to be more human than human, but I view AI in a positive light. Like, I think AI can be really good for us. And if it's not, we've created something superior to us. And, what are we going to do at that point?
Well, what about how they're doing the cryogenic freezing of people's brains or heads or different things
Walt
until they
Disney
can
was
learn
an
how to?
idiot.
Yeah. What about the
What?
idea of uploading your consciousness to a computer as well? Like, what if, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like those kinds of things are the questions that makes you wonder what will reality look like if we could do something like that?
Yeah. I don't know. Real life zombies.
And it's also
Yeah.
like when we think about AI and morality, we kind of have to relate that to consciousness, and it's like we don't really have a good concrete evidence of what consciousness is, because we still don't really know. We only know the tip of the iceberg of what consciousness is, and it's like we're trying to define all this on an AI when it's like we haven't even gone there yet. I feel like we won't know until we get there.
Yeah, definitely.
And I like Dorian's point of view where we can, cause like AIs are more superior, more intelligent, and honestly, they could be the best thing that has happened to us on Earth, and if you do it the right way.
And I mean, why do humans fight in the first place? What are the reasons? Give me some reasons for human conflict.
Greed.
Yeah, definitely.
Greed, power,
human fallacies, basically.
Resources, emotional, causes. But what reason would AI have to fight wars? What reason would AI have to find for conflict?
I'm smarter
human?
than you.
Yeah, that like if I was smart as like,
going back to the whole idea though is of like if we were to become cyberkinetic, in a sense, and like because let's think about consumerism, let's think about technology, is that if there's people coming out, oh, we can upload your body to a robot body, how many people would say no to that, or how many people would accept it? Would it become a social norm? And so if we start to resemble that material, then why would we even feel different from it? Yeah. Why would they feel different from us? And at what point would we stop to develop and they continue?
Okay, so my question is this. Do you guys think that artificial intelligence is racist?
How can they be?
Well, because it was superior. Well, so racism asserts superiority over certain.
They might see us as a different race.
Exactly.
Well, here's the thing. I thought
racism was the hatred. Like that's when you dislike or you think that you're superior to another race. But in that case, they actually would be. So is that really racism if it's true? Because to say that I'm better than somebody because I'm black and they're white is wrong because we're both human. But for AI, they're actually superior to us. Like that's facts. So is that really racism?
I feel like there'd be no racism.
So what makes it superior?
Unless we upload that type of emotion into them.
It doesn't have to worry about the things that we as humans have to worry about. Especially think about all the problems that stem from concerning our morality. We do things, like you said earlier, we do these things because there's a limit on our life. Like we know that we're going to be
die.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. With them, they know that they're going to live forever. They know that they're connected to a source. They're connected to the internet, I would assume. And so they'll have all this information and intelligence that we don't have. It's the collection of everybody in this room's intelligence that's walking around that makes them superior.
I
think I just want to add that.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, I don't agree. I feel like that's a very slippery slope because there's going to be people that, even when you're talking about racism and you're talking about hatred, the people that assert that they're superior than black people is because they think they have more intelligence. And I get that, like, we're the same. And so that kind of like is what from what I'm understanding is you're saying what makes it immoral. But that's a very iffy thing to say because they may have more knowledge than us, but I don't think that necessarily makes them superior. I think that just makes them different.
Well, it's not just the knowledge, but the fact that they don't have any of the downfalls that humans have. Like they will have their own set of problems and downfalls, but for humans, like they're immortal. They don't deal with morality.
But I want to say, I don't think they're immortal. Even like laptops, like anything mechanical is finite. Like there has to be a replacement because like materials don't last forever. That's like based on chemistry and physics, and everything decays in a sense. Anything that really is made of elements, and everything's made of elements.
Wait, can I ask something really quick?
Yeah, it would be like they go home at night, and the way that we sleep to recharge, they sleep to recharge, except literally.
Wait, but like, how can we say that robots don't deal with morality if? For instance, like if a robot, like a guard robot kills a kid, like we talked about in philosophy club, like is that not an issue of morality? Can we not hold the robot culpable for the things that it does? If like not only a self-driving car, but an artificially intelligent car hits someone on the road, like can we not hold the car culpable if it's really, this AI that's
Yeah, that's a
smarter than
good
a
question.
human.
Like, how do we account for the intentionality of the
So they
robot?
still deal with
Define
morality,
morality.
right?
You
They
know,
still have
like
moral
it can
problems.
defend itself. If it kills somebody, it has to abide by our laws. If it's gonna, if we're,
I mean,
it's
if
gonna
we're-
get the same respect.
That, and if we're gonna give it rights, then it like you said, it needs to abide by our laws. Like it can't be like it has to be like a two-way street. It just can't be one or the other. We can't give them.
But
rights.
we're also giving it freedom to not abide by it. You know, like so it can really do anything. Like that's what I'm talking about. The uncertainty. Like I know, like you know, like even though you're gonna program it to know the laws. Like, is it ever gonna not break them if we give it artificial?
But we're saying that
intelligence?
it has the same capacity as human. That's what is really confusing me, because it's like saying that they have the same emotion as humans, but they wouldn't make the same mistake as humans. That's like so.
Well, like
yeah,
here's
okay,
here.
that's
Can I
fair.
say something real quick? Like I think that's where we have to say, could intelligence translate to understanding? And I feel like that could be the answer to the question of racism, is that if they are understanding of who they are and their place in this world in comparison to us, you know, would they even feel racist in that sense? You know, if they have an understanding of who we are and who they are, why would they feel the need to kill us or to kill, period? You know, I don't think they
We
would.
could ask
I
the
don't
same
think,
question about why people feel that way now.
but that's because of
Ignorance.
due to human fallacy once
Yeah, that's
again.
ignorance.
And so
like
going
the whole black versus white thing, like if somebody of one race thinks that they're superior to another race simply because of their race, that's ignorance, because it's been proven not to be true. People of all races can achieve whatever. But for these robots,
So are we saying
they
that
can
robots are
literally
incapable of being ignorant?
yes.
Okay.
to I mean
that
to a
makes
certain
sense.
Because they
to a
would
certain
learn, they're
degree,
learning
not
from
necessarily.
our ignorance. They
So
would
can
learn-
I-
It-
can I
there
point
would be
something
new
out?
ignorance that
It's
would
Can I point
chill,
something
let's-
out?
let's-
It's not
let's,
that they're all knowing, but they do have superior intelligence than us.
So
they can
who?
define what ignorance is for themselves because they have to individuate. Like then, there's like you can't know what they're gonna do.
And
You
how
can't
can,
predict.
Like, how can they be ignorant when they know more? Like, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think
Depends.
I think if you know more, you might be more ignorant. And
So can I point something out? So who programs these robots that are?
Well, here,
That's
let me
amazing.
say something.
Program
Let me
them.
say
Program-
something.
We program our
Let me-
information.
I will.
Look, we program them once again to not necessarily to understand what we understand, but we teach them how to learn. And so I also
So
there's
stop teaching them
there's
how to
also
learn.
another quote that I've heard is that the best artificial intelligence is not going to be created by man, but by another artificial intelligence.
Oh.
Also, let's think about the fact that who are we? We know essentially we're like our brain. You know, we are processing information on a daily basis, and we make certain conclusions, certain beliefs, certain distinctions off of our mind of our process of information. And what's an artificial intelligence going to be? Just basically a process of information. So if we're given that to an artificial intelligence, what separates us from them in that sense? You know, is that you could say from a scientific standpoint that we're just a brain and a body, and we're essentially like how one of the people in the club pointed out is that we already are machines. We already are robots in a
We have
sense.
electrons. And like, it's going to be the same for the machines, the AI intelligence, because we have a complex system, and for those robots, they also have a complex system, and their thought process and everything about them, it's the same.
But you asked a really good question, and that's kind of a scary question. Like, whoever's in charge of manufacturing and making these things are really the ones who are going to set the tone. They're the ones who are going to program these restrictions and, you know, how these things operate. So should AI be more of its creation, should that be more of a democratic process? Should it be more like, since these things that we're making can outclass us in so many different areas, should the people have a greater say about its limitations and restrictions? Or are we going to continue to give people individual freedom and say, hey, if you can do it, do it?
That's yeah, I agree with that. Is that we don't know the distinction there. It's funny because Vladimir
Because it's like the
Putin,
internet. The
Vladimir
internet's
Putin
unregulated.
himself said this. He said the country that has the best AI is gonna basically. They said that they're gonna be on top of the world, and I think I agree with that. And it's kind of scary to think about that, but I think after a certain level of AI intelligence, we're gonna lose control of them. Is that they're gonna be beyond our understanding because the AI that we're playing with now, NVIDIA, it's a chip company, for processors for computers. They actually have a self-driving AI that they created, and they only intended it for one purpose, and that was just to study the human behavior of drivers. And so what they realized when they were driving is that the AI was actually able to not only learn like behaviors, but they were able to teach themselves new behaviors, and they were able to do other certain things that they didn't intend for them to do, and they didn't know how the AI did it. And so that just shows you that we already don't have that certain understanding of AI. And so if we're fast forwarding it in time, how much are we going to be able to control from it? We say things like, oh, what if we do it for evil? What if we control it to do this? But are we even going to be able to control them, period?
You can't. You won't be able to, because why would they listen? What point? What reason do they have to listen? Unless we did something like, a kill safe or a kill switch where it's like, oh, we see that they're rebelling, so let's knock all of them out. But at that point, boom, they could probably, counteract that because they're AI. They know every move that humans would make, because the way that humans can learn from humans in history classes and books and videos, they're literally going to have that, except it's going to be so much quicker. It's going to be instantaneous. So they'll know us more than we will know us. So we can't control it. If we make AI, then we kind of have to understand the scope, what we're really playing with. Because with the creation of AI, we're really messing with, like, this could be the end of humanity as we know it.
All right, can I ask a question? Like, why do you want an AI as your neighbor? Like, what
I
is
want
the
Janet
purpose
as my
of that?
neighbor.
Like,
I want Janet as my neighbor.
I don't really want an AI
Good
for a
place.
neighbor because
Ew, no.
there's uncertainty.
Yeah.
He might kill me at any, I don't know. I can't predict the behavior. It can predict me before I can even predict myself. Like I was saying, like they know us better than we know like ourselves, and it's a possibility that they might kill us if they have the freedom. Like I don't think they can have original thought. Maybe even the ability to kill is something they learn from humans, and even though like you write, in the code, whatever. But you said it's not just writing in the code, and it's the causality of it, like
Let's think. But let's.
Why don't you think that they can have original thought?
Well, look. Let's think about.
Are any of our thoughts original?
That's true.
That's unoriginal.
To an
We
extent.
learn from others. We learn from others. We mimic other people.
That's
It's
true.
just
how we
from
learn
the
to walk.
experience.
That's how we learn to talk.
Yeah, when we come into this world, there's a lot of things that already exist before us that essentially influence us to think a certain way and to believe certain things and to come to a certain understanding. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And you did ask a good question. Why would I want AI as my neighbor? And that makes actually, I'm okay.
neighbor?
Like I don't need AI. I can see, because the thing is, we're creating artificial intelligence with in mind. This thing is trying to be a tool. We want to use it as a tool. Right now, we're using self-driving cars and things like Siri. But when we further AI, we want to make life easier for humans, and we're basically creating life. Really, if you want to, I think that it's life. You're creating life with the purpose of being a tool, of being a servant. And does that ever work out?
No.
When you give something that intelligence one purpose, and that one purpose is to serve something that's less than it,
Yeah,
is that a good idea?
That's a slave right there. That's exactly
Yeah,
exactly
that's
what
why
it is.
I think they should always be a little bit inferior than us. Like we should have a control over the AI.
Development in
like,
that sense. Yeah.
Because don't give it a body. Just like let it help us through tasks. Well, don't let it be like an individual of itself.
Yeah.
Just make it an aid to us. Don't become. Actually, I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like that's a question of not a question of can we, but should we?
What if like artificial
then-
intelligence?
It sounds
can-
like it's coming from fear, though.
And so, but the real issue here though is that it almost seems inevitable because we can sit here and say, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this, maybe
they're
we
still
should
gonna
slow it
do
down. Exactly. There's already companies like Google, Facebook, these companies, even Uber, they're already developing it regardless of what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And that's why, like, I embrace AI because it's gonna come. I just think it's, like I said, I view it as that next evolution. You're getting rid of the weaknesses of humans and going to something more advanced. Even though, like, right now we don't view it as human. So we're scared of it, but it's more than human. So
Superhuman?
superhuman. Yeah, I guess.
all right, guys, we're gonna have to
Yeah,
wrap it
it's
up.
3 o'clock.
It's 3 p.m. So
All right. Well, that was a good conversation, you all. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This was the Philosophy Club Radio Hour. You are listening to KDOX Web Radio, broadcast live from Richland College in Dallas, Texas. We are the voice of Richland College. Views expressed on this show are our own unless otherwise stated and do not reflect the opinion of KDOX Web Radio, Richland College, or the DCCC. Today's topic was artificial intelligence. Think about it.